In modern medicine, the body is often looked at and treated as individual parts that don't affect one another. The brain is no exception to this. Often the brain is looked at as being completely separate from the body, and people are even told what you do with your body when it comes to things like exercise and nutrition will not have an effect on the health of your brain. Thankfully, the majority of people have the ability to think for themselves and realize this is absurd. There is even a new emerging field of medicine known as nutritional psychology, where doctors are treating anxiety, depression, PTSD, and even more serious mental health conditions with specialized nutritional recommendations that help to heal the body, heal the gut, and as a result, heal the brain. Welcome to the Foundational Health Podcast, where we provide education and inspiration to help guide you on your journey to look better, feel better, and most importantly, heal better. Hello, and welcome to the Foundational Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Kevin Schultz, and today we're going to talk about how to have a strong and resilient mind by improving the health of your body. The intent of the podcast today is to bring a message of hope where there often isn't any. Way too many people are told they unfortunately were dealt a bad hand and have a mental illness that can only be helped with prescription drugs that they will need to take for the rest of their life. Thankfully, this is simply not true, and there is hope for those who are willing to see it, believe it, and take action, and then be patient as the body and brain heal and become stronger and more resilient through that healing process. Be sure to stick around to the end, where I'll give you some simple, actionable takeaways that can help you achieve a healthy body and strong mind. Today is by design meant to be shorter and a more simplified podcast because, let's face it, if you're dealing with things like anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, PTSD, and other mental health issues, the last thing you need is a complicated and difficult approach. The focus today will be on what we are at Foundational Health call the 5 pillars of health: nutrition, motion, hydration, recovery, and intention. Certainly last, but certainly not least. Pillar number 1, nutrition. Did you know that close to 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut? Here's what that means and what the science tells us. If your gut is unhealthy and inflamed and full of bad bacteria and lacking good bacteria, the body simply cannot produce healthy and adequate amounts of serotonin. When you cannot produce healthy, adequate amounts of serotonin, you have an imbalance of essential hormones like serotonin, dopamine, and cortisol. Serotonin is responsible for having a good mood and it's responsible for what they call like an overall feeling of well-being, while dopamine is responsible for things like focus, motivation, and drive. And cortisol, of course, is known as the stress hormone. And this can cause you to feel more stressed, anxious, and depressed. When these hormones are balanced, your brain does what it's supposed to do, and you are able to feel what you're supposed to feel and focus when you should focus, sleep when you should sleep, have more energy when you should have more energy. I think you get the idea, but when those hormones are balanced, your body does and your brain does what it is supposed to do. When these hormones are out of balance, none of those things work properly. If your gut is unhealthy, it is impossible for your brain to be healthy. That is a scientific fact. The two simply cannot be separated. So let's discuss some simple things to improve the health of your brain-gut connection. Number 1, increase whole foods with a focus on healthy fats, high-quality proteins, and complex carbohydrates. These foods will decrease gut inflammation and literally feed your good bacteria, which then allows the numbers of good bacteria to grow and what they call colonate, making it impossible then for bad bacteria to flourish. The bad bacteria will always be there. It's part of a healthy microbiome. However, they won't be able to flourish and take over when the good bacteria is strong. Healthy fat examples: coconut oil. I recommend seeking out organic virgin coconut oil. Fermented dairy from a company called Alexandre Products. We have a link to that in the show notes as well as our website. They are excellent. High quality EPA, DHA fish oil, avocados, excellent. And then a wide variety of nuts and seeds. The reason for the wide variety of nuts and seeds is not only because of a different nutrient profile, different fat profile in there, as well as micronutrient profile, I should have said, but then also different nuts and seeds feed different classes of bacteria. Literally, you eat a cashew, it's feeding different bacteria than if you eat a walnut or a Brazil nut. When it comes to protein, you want to build your meals around protein and focus on getting at least 30 to 50 grams per meal. Shoot for a range of 0.75 grams to 1.25 grams per pound of ideal body weight when it comes to protein. Great high quality protein examples are things like pasture raised eggs from local farms that you trust, or actually that Alexandre Products that I mentioned earlier. They actually also sell pasture raised eggs actually done right. And you can go to their website, you can find out where their products are carried and what products are carried. And what I always encourage, I don't know if Woodman's grocery stores are a nationwide thing or not. I know they're popular in the Midwest and popular where I'm from, but that is one example. And you can probably do this at other grocery stores where you can go to the customer service desk and recommend a product. And chances are they are at least going to give it a try. They're going to carry it and then see how well that product does. So you can always request products from your local grocery store if you're unable to find them in your area. Also, wild caught Alaskan sockeye salmon, also wild caught things like sardines are absolutely amazing for you. 100% grass-fed beef, always look for that on the label. Don't fall for the marketing ploy of where it says just grass-fed. If it says just grass-fed, there is about a 100% chance that it is not 100% grass-fed, and they are fattening that animal with corn, which destroys all of the grass feeding that they did initially. Carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are hugely important for optimizing your brain health. They also dramatically improve your energy and mood as well. Some of the best complex carbohydrates are things like steel-cut oats, wild brown rice, sweet potatoes, wide variety of fruits and vegetables. And for the same reason that I talked about with the wide variety of nuts and seeds, the exact same rule here applies. And I could go on and on when it comes to fruits and vegetables, but a strawberry feeds a different class of bacteria than a blueberry does, which feeds a different class of bacteria than a raspberry. And beets will feed a different class of bacteria than a carrot. And I could go on because every single one of them feeds a different class of bacteria. So not only important to get a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds because of that, but then also, of course, they all contain different nutrient profiles. All of those things are going to be beneficial for the health of your entire body and beneficial for the health of your brain without a doubt. When it comes to supplementation, keep it simple. Start with the foundational 4 always to make sure you're not missing out on the basic building blocks of a healthy body, strong mind. Multivitamin, spore-based probiotic, D3 with K2, omega-3 fish oil. All of those are absolutely essential for brain health. And that is not an opinion-based thing. That is 100% backed by science, especially when we look at those last 3, the D3, the omega-3, and the probiotics. Those are enormous for overall brain health. Countless studies on every single one of those being linked to the lower they are, the higher anxiety, depression, suicide, PTSD, and other mental health issues go. So making sure you have those adequate building blocks is huge when it comes to having a healthy mind, a healthy brain. Nutridyne is my number one choice for the vast majority of my family supplements. I'm a huge fan of nearly everyone taking what I call the foundational 4 supplements: a multivitamin, a spore-based probiotic, omega-3 fish oil, and vitamin D3 with K2. The large majority of people are deficient in many of these nutrients, and they are the building blocks to gut health, immune system strength, brain health, heart health, and every other aspect of your health. Don't fall into the trap of chasing symptoms with supplements, and instead start to rebuild your health with the foundational 4. We partnered with Nutridyne so that you can save 15% on every order, and not just with the foundational 4, but all of your other supplements as well. Go to foundationalhealth365.com, click on Shop Brands, and then Nutridyne, set up your account, and you're all set to automatically get 15% off all orders. Now let's get back to the Foundational Health Podcast. If you haven't been tested for something called the MTHFR gene, I strongly recommend that you consider getting tested. I just did an entire podcast on this, and it can be life-changing for some. I've heard some incredible stories. We have all kinds of test results coming in right now that we're delivering to people, and I know that that is just going to increase those life-changing stories that I get to hear, which is one of my biggest driving motivations for continuing to do this podcast. We have a simple at-home lab test on our website where you can find out if you have this MTHFR, what they call a gene SNP or a gene genetic mutation. And if you do, it becomes critical to supplement with a product from Nutridyne called Methyl Complete. And if you haven't been tested or you choose not to, then at least start by taking that supplement in addition to the foundational 4. And I can almost guarantee you, just with that alone, if you're not ready to change your diet, you're not ready to incorporate some of these other recommendations that I'm going to make to you today, then I can guarantee just with those simple changes alone that you're going to see dramatic improvements in your mental health. And if you've listened to past podcasts, one thing that I highly recommend, because I realize money can be an issue for so many people, and something is always better than nothing. So an example of this is if the multivitamin recommends taking 3 multivitamin a day, 1 is better than 0. So if you can only afford 1, then take 1 multivitamin a day. And all of a sudden that 1 month supply becomes a 3-month supply. Obviously, if you can afford to take the recommended doses on the bottle, you're going to be better off, but 1 is better than 0. Something is better than nothing without a doubt. Number 2, eliminate or at least limit as much as possible simple sugars as well as refined grains, which lead to inflammation of the gut and the brain, and not only kill off good bacteria, but also feed bad bacteria. If you really want a deep dive on this, there is an excellent book called Grain Brain, where it talks about the massive detrimental effects by eating these highly processed grains, these refined grains, where they've stripped all the nutrients out. They lead to inflammation. It inflames your brain, and it leads to every mental health issue, as well as things like mental decline in Alzheimer's and dementia and other brain-related diseases. When it comes to sugar, kicking your sugar addiction and removing the processed foods that contain sugar is very likely the number one thing you can remove from your diet to help heal your brain. So if that's where you're going to start, then that is an absolute huge one. I already mentioned this, but refined grains are basically the same thing because of their incredibly low nutritional value. They do the same things in your body as sugar, and they lead to high blood sugar, insulin resistance, and that all leads to an inflamed brain, an inflamed gut as a result of that. So avoid processed breads and bread-like products and processed flours and quick oats and pastas and white rice. If you want a deeper dive on that, go into and listen to my recent podcast on carbohydrates and how to make them healthier. Fasting has tremendous benefits also for healing the brain. So when we're talking about nutrition, here we're talking about avoiding nutrition, which seems kind of counterintuitive, but fasting has tremendous benefits for healing the brain through something called autophagy, which is where the brain and the body detoxify themselves and get rid of waste and toxins. So this has tremendous healing benefits for the brain, as I mentioned. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later when I talk about the importance of sleep and how really the two of those combined, fasting and sleep, just have tremendous benefits for helping your brain heal and becoming stronger and more resilient. Pillar number 2, motion. There are countless studies linking exercise and movement in general to improved mental health. One very prominent study, in particular from Duke University, showed these results. And I'm going to read directly from the study here. After demonstrating that 30 minutes of brisk exercise 3 times a week is just as effective as drug therapy in relieving the symptoms of major depression in the short term, medical center researchers have now shown that continued exercise greatly reduces the chances of the depression returning. The Duke researchers reported on their study of 156 older patients diagnosed with major, again, not minor, major depression, which to their surprise found that after 16 weeks, that's just 4 months, by the way, 16 weeks, patients who exercise showed statistically significant and comparable improvement relative to those who took antidepressant medication, or then those who took the medication and exercise. So the exercise alone was better than those who took antidepressant meds and those who took the antidepressant meds combined with exercise. So the exercise alone was the best. The new study, which followed the same participants for an additional 6-month period of time, found that patients who continued to exercise after completing their initial 16-week trial were much less likely to see their depression return than other patients. So listen to these numbers. Only 8% of patients, that's 8 out of 100 of these people that had major depression, 8 out of 100 of the patients in the exercise group had their depression return. That means 92% of them did not have their major depression return strictly because of exercise, while 38% of the people in the drug-only group had their depression return. They relapsed. And 31% of the drug plus exercise group relapsed. 92% did not relapse when they did exercise alone. So I fully realize if you are depressed right now and struggling with your mental health, exercising probably doesn't sound like a lot of fun. But this is where the beauty of this study comes in and many others like it. The main takeaway here is exercise is more powerful than drugs. And 30 minutes at a time, 3 times per week is what they were doing. So we're not talking about hitting the gym 7 days a week or 6 days a week for 2-3 hours at a time. We're not talking about high intensity interval training, which I'm a big fan of, but we're not talking about that. We're not talking about lifting heavy weights for an hour at a time. We're not talking about training for a marathon. We're talking about 30 minutes of what they call brisk exercise. And many of these studies are just brisk walks. That's it. 30 minutes of a brisk walk at a time, 3 times per week is what got these results. So don't get overwhelmed. Start small. Find an accountability partner. Schedule your walks or your exercise into your week and stick to it. But if you fall off the wagon, don't beat yourself up. Just get back on, stay positive, and keep moving forward. I promise you absolutely can do this. And just remember the results that study showed and countless others like that, just from walking 3 times per week, 30 minutes at a time. Pillar number 3, hydration. Approximately 75% of the brain is made up of water. That's a big number. 75% of the brain is made up of water, and making sure you're getting enough daily is one of the most simple, low-cost things you can do to improve the health of your brain and body. Hydration plays a role in every single aspect of your health, and a healthy brain and strong mind is not an exception to that rule. So do not be one of those people that say, I don't like drinking water. I just don't do that. I don't drink enough water. Well, start drinking enough water if you don't drink enough water. It's huge. It's important. And if you don't like the flavor of water, which is flavorless, in my opinion, unless you're drinking chlorinated tap water, which tastes like pools. But if you don't like the flavor of it, then flavor it with something. Even something bad is better than not flavoring it at all if it's going to get you to drink it. But you can flavor it with something like element electrolytes or other electrolytes that are going to allow you then to get more water in to feed your brain. And that water and hydration is essential for your brain. So if you're serious about building a strong and more resilient mind, you need to get serious about proper hydration and doing that on a daily basis. Drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day, half of your ideal body weight, wherever you determine that is. Sip the water. Do not gulp it throughout the day. Has a better effect on hydrating your cells, hydrating your brain, as opposed to gulping it and peeing it out. Add things like electrolytes, as I already mentioned. Eliminate things like chlorine and other chemicals, ideally, because those toxins will build up in your brain and affect hormone levels and affect the health of your brain. Century Water Company, water filtration company, is my favorite. Bottled water is not a great option. Bottled water is better, absolutely, than tap water, but it is not a great option because it is loaded with what they call forever chemicals. Those microplastics break down. It's not like they're bottling the water and handing it to you. It's often 6 to 12 months before you actually consume it after it's bottled. It sits in trucks and warehouses at high heat. The chemicals, the plastic chemicals, break down into the water. And even if you don't taste it, they are in there. They build up in your brain. So that is not a great option. It's, however, a better option than not drinking water. And then stop water consumption, ideally 1.5 to 2 hours before bed, to increase better sleep. And speaking of sleep, that is pillar number 4, which we call recovery at Foundational Health. Did you know your brain literally detoxifies itself while you sleep? Pretty fascinating. There's a system in your brain called the glymphatic system. So the lymphatic system detoxifies your entire body. The glymphatic system, just lymphatic with a G in front of it, this system is responsible for removing waste products from the brain as well as your nervous system. It literally acts like a garbage collection system, flushing out toxins and proteins that shouldn't be there, including something called beta amyloids. Most people have probably heard of that because beta amyloids, the accumulation of these, have been linked to things like Alzheimer's disease. The glymphatic system is most active during sleep. So during this time, the brain's other processes slow down. So the brain slows down, which you could probably figure that out because you're sleeping. So clearly it's going to slow down. But the glymphatic system speeds up. Your brain floats in something called CSF. You may have heard that term before, but the brain literally is floating in this CSF, this cerebrospinal fluid. And research shows that the glymphatic system works by circulating your CSF through your brain as well as your entire spinal cord. So the way that it works is the CSF isn't just circulating around your brain. It's not just sitting there still in your skull. It's circulating around the brain, but also goes out the hole at the bottom of your skull, down your entire spinal canal, and it collects waste and carries it away from the brain and the nervous system. So now if we go back to the fasting that I talked about earlier, when you combine fasting with proper sleep, you now introduce autophagy into the mix of the already incredible benefits of the glymphatic system, and you become a superhuman healing cellular detoxing machine. And that is not just something I'm saying to sound cool. That is what you turn your body into. Autophagy gets kicked in and kicks into overdrive when you fast between 24 to 48 hours. So you certainly get some benefits in intermittent fasting on a daily basis, but where it really kicks into overdrive is between 24 to 48 hours, which I realize, just like I talked about with exercise, probably sounds very undoable, probably sounds overwhelming, but I promise if you listen to my podcast on fasting and you do it properly, it's not that hard and you will reap the rewards of that. To dramatically improve your sleep and dramatically improve this glymphatic system being able to do what it was designed by God to do, focus on a bare minimum of 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. So 7 to 9 hours, bare minimum of 7, not more than 9. So you want to be in that range. We know that when people are sleeping 10, 11, 12 hours, that is detrimental to your health. It is not beneficial to your health. When you're sleeping 5 or 6, that is also detrimental to your health. You can't say like, oh, I require less sleep. Certainly, some people require less sleep, but that means you require maybe like 7.5. So 7 to 9 hours is ideally what you want to get. And then there are a lot of studies that show when you go to sleep at around 10 p.m. and wake up around 6 a.m., that is going to be the best for optimal hormone balance for things like serotonin, cortisol, as well as other hormones, including dopamine, that are so important for the brain. So follow the Foundational Health 10-3-2-1-0 rule. Stop caffeine use 10 hours before bed. 3 hours before bed, stop food and alcohol consumption. 2 hours before bed, stop stressful things like work and stressful conversations, especially financial conversations. Also, stop or dramatically reduce water intake and just sip a little bit of water after that 2-hour mark. 1 hour before bed, eliminate TV, cell phone, and other artificial blue light from entering your eyes, even through light bulbs, and replace those light bulbs with things like orange bulbs or red bulbs, which you can find on our website. Huga is the company that we use, and they're fantastic. You can also buy those just directly from Amazon, which we have links on as well. And then 0 means 0 times of hitting that snooze button in the morning. Set your alarm across the room. I use my cell phone. It goes on airplane mode at night. I set it way across the room, so I have to get out of bed. And then I get out of bed and I don't go back in it. Pillar number 5, intention. Having clear intention is what drives your commitment to making sustainable, healthy lifestyle changes. I cannot overstate this. I can't talk about it enough. This is the answer. This is the key for everything else becoming sustainable in your life. Before starting anything, set your intention as to why you are doing it, what you're doing, and what you're trying to accomplish. What is your why? Are you doing this for you strictly? Are you doing this for your loved ones? Are you doing it ideally, in my opinion, for a combination of both? Certainly, you should be doing it for you, but also thinking about how it affects your loved ones, how it's going to affect your loved ones if you become healthier physically as well as mentally. Do you have some goals that you want to accomplish? Write all of that down and look at it and read it aloud every single day, literally every day. Put it in your calendar. This is my secret. This is what I do. I have all of those things in my calendar. Anybody that wants me to share these with you, some of them are more personal, but I will absolutely do that. You put it in your calendar, set a pop-up every morning to have it pop up on your phone, to have that reminder, and then click on it and actually read it. or which is what I do, have it emailed to your inbox every single day as well. So if I don't have time or I choose not to click on that pop-up, well, I know I've got that email that I'm going to see later in the day as well. And then hold yourself accountable and give your accountability partner permission to hold you accountable. I promise, if you get this piece right, if you set your intention, it will make every other pillar easier and you will see sustainable, lifelong results. Not short-term, lifelong. The inspirational, educational takeaways from today. Success equals simple habits performed consistently over time. Listen to this podcast over and over again as many times as it takes to fully grasp it all and to incorporate it all. You can also download the podcast notes from our website as well as the 60-day Healthy Body, Strong Mind protocol. They are both free, so utilize them as well as all of the other free resources that we have for you on our website, foundationalhealth365.com. Knowledge without action is powerless. 3 actionable takeaways from today. Start with brisk walks, 3 times a week, 30 minutes per time. And even if that's too much, then start with a 5-minute walk, start with a 3-minute walk. Just start doing something. The second one, replace simple sugars and refined carbs with complex carbohydrates. I promise you they taste better and they are loaded with nutrients and microbiome filling, good bacteria feeding things that will lead to a healthier body, a healthier, stronger mind. Focus on sleep and getting proper amounts at the proper times consistently. And lastly, remember, you're a leader. Lead by example. If you enjoyed today's podcast and found it beneficial, I want you to think about who needs to hear this critically important message and be a leader for them. Drop them a text and tell them to check out the Foundational Health Podcast with Dr. Kevin Schultz, Healthy Body, Strong Mind. Until next time, make health your hobby. Thank you for listening to the Foundational Health Podcast. As always, if you would like to learn more about making health your hobby, visit our website at foundationalhealth365.com and follow me on Facebook at Kevin Schultz DC Foundational Health.